Welcome and thank you so much for coming today. It's great to see that there's interest in the initiative. As Tina said, my name is Henriette. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the lab manager at Ethos Lab, which is a feminist, critical, creative playground lab at the IT University. And I apologize in advance. I have notes on my phone, so I'll be looking down at that once in a while. So in the lab we offer a space for reflections and for retakes, and we experiment with methods and methodologies to analyze technologies in practice. So it's similar to what you can expect to experience in the hackathon. At Ethos we use feminist, critical and ethnographical theories and methods to address issues of data, surveillance, embodiment, capitalism, and care, just to name a few of the themes that we work with. And as I mentioned, the lab lives at the IT University. So I'm guessing that some of you have maybe been to a hackathon before, but I'm also guessing that some of you have definitely not been to a hackathon before, and maybe you're still like, what even is a hackathon? And that's all great, because you don't need any particular skills or experiences to join us. And we'll go through it all today, and we can talk about it all as well. But I'd like to start by sharing just a bit about the vision behind the event. So with this rapid increase and widespread application of technological solutions, we as a society have a tendency to fall into the trap of tech solutionism. And by tech solutionism, in a nutshell, I'm talking about this idea that no matter what, technology will save us. And we see this in particular with the climate crisis, but really we can see a lot of examples across different industries, especially in such a highly digitalized society as here in Denmark. But we would like to challenge that. Not because we're against technology, but because we would like to offer an alternative approach that aims to gain a deeper understanding of the issues at hand before we jump to solutions, without actually properly understanding the implications of the technology that we're trying to send out into the world. So we want to facilitate a space for co-creation, and for people with lived experience, for local communities, for marginalized and minoritized groups. We want to experiment with transdisciplinary processes, and we want to uplift and platform historically unacknowledged sources of knowledge. And so I think this might be a good time to introduce some of the people behind the scenes who are making this event happen. Some of them are here today and some of them are not, but if you join the hackathon you'll meet them there. So in our team we have Edith Tade and Louise Landa, who are not here right now, but they have been working on our website. We have Mia Lunding Christensen and Lara Reime and Jana, who's not here. We have Maja Ellen Hertz and Maja Stjørk Andersen, who are all leading the work on the different tracks and also fundraising. We also have Alberte Bjerge, who is leading our sponsorship efforts and is also writing her master's thesis on the organizing process of the hackathon. We also have Eva Duran Sanchez, who's helping out with communications and framing and all sorts of things behind the scenes. Barbara Nino Carreras, who's been teaching us a lot about accessibility. Sanna Maria Martila and Sansan Wang, who are helping design the program. Gorga Singal, who is helping out with social media. And of course, Tina, who through our partnership with Ida has been a great support from the very beginning. So beyond this list of names, there are of course a lot of other people who have been helping out in different ways, but that's sort of the core team. And so instead of giving you a long history of hackathons in general, because that would take a while. Can you get the door? I'm just going to focus on where the idea for this particular hackathon came from. So our work builds on that of a few specific groups, but also larger groups and historic activism and research. So first of all, our work builds on research, years of research and organizing from the group Make the Breast Pump Not Suck, which is a collective at the MIT. And if you don't know their work, definitely check it out. They've been working with feminist hackathons for years now. Make the breast pump not suck. Yeah, so their work sort of started out from wanting to hack the breast pump, and then from there they worked their way into working with feminist hackathons more generally, also working with prison abolition and environmental issues and all sorts of things. So, but yeah, that's Alexis Hope and Catherine D'Ignazio. Some of you may know the book Date of Feminism, so Catherine is also part of that collective. And secondly, this hackathon format is a direct continuation of the format that myself and my wonderful collaborators developed 2 years ago when we organized Feminist Futures Helsinki in Finland. And so beyond these two specific groups, I also want to acknowledge that this work, in a broader sense, builds on knowledge produced by Black feminists, intersectional feminists, disability justice activists, queer activists, and academics, all of whom have contributed to this knowledge base that we contribute to today, and also with this hackathon. And so now, back to the question about what's the hackathon, and what can you expect, and what are you going to learn? So in a nutshell, from start to finish, the hackathon is going to last 2.5 weeks. But by no means does that mean, get the door. By no means does that, that doesn't mean that it's a full-time, all day, every day for those 2.5 weeks. We've really tried to plan it so that there's space and time, and it's light and flexible enough so that people with part-time, full-time jobs, caring responsibilities, whatever it may be, that you're able to participate, which is part of the concept, because we want to go beyond the student sort of demographic, which is usually the demographic that is targeted with hackathons. That's not to say that students are not invited. We definitely also want students, but we're hoping to get a wider range of participants to get, just the most diverse participation for everyone. But yeah, so we've designed the program to be as light and flexible as possible, while still really getting in a lot of input and inspiration for you all along the way. And yeah, just to reiterate again, we value all kinds of contributions, so you don't need to know how to code, you don't need to have any particular skills. It's all going to be useful. So whether you're a school teacher or an engineer or a developer or an anthropologist, it's all valuable. And so, as you probably know, and as Tina also mentioned, there's going to be these 4 tracks. And you're about to hear much more about each of them. And within each track, there's going to be 3 different teams, and the teams are going to be formed by a group of people from our organizing team who are part of the selection committee. So when you apply, you can put a name of a friend or a colleague if there's someone in particular that you would like to work with, but you absolutely don't have to already have a team to apply. And so then the teams are going to be guided through this 4-step process, which starts with explore the context. So this is the phase where you get to really dive deep into the brief that you get. You get to talk to your partner organization, and I'll get back to this partner organization mentor thing in a minute. But you get to really dive deep. You get to do your research and watch things and read things and just really get into the theme. Then you move on to step number 2, which is reframe the brief. So this is where you really take ownership of the brief and you say, okay, so we hear you, we read your brief. Now we as a team with our skills and our experiences and our interests, this is what we choose to focus on. And then you go back to your partner organization and you represent it to them and you get some feedback. And then you move into phase number 3, which is Imagine Feminist Futures. So this is where you start to imagine within, if you're working in the solidarity economies track, okay, a feminist economy in X number of years, what does that look like? Or a feminist future within technologies for the body, or within archival practices. What does that future look like? Because then we can go from there, and then what do we need to get there? Rather than starting from one step at a time, or, oh, what technology do we have available to us right now? We'll start from what is the future, what is the world that we would like to create, and then how do we get there? And then finally, step 4, communicate and share. So this is where we go in and we sort of challenge you a bit to say, sure, maybe a PowerPoint presentation is the best way to tell your story, and there can be great ways of doing that as well, but we'll also challenge you and say, maybe there's another way. Maybe it's a poem, maybe it's a sensory experience. There might be other ways to best tell the story that you want to tell, communicate what you want to communicate. So those are kind of the 4 phases that you'll go through, and you'll get toolkits and you'll get mentoring along the way. So it's just so you kind of have a sense of what's the story arc of the process. Yeah, so each track will have a partner organization and also an external mentor. So the partner organization will be the ones who write your brief, who give you your assignment. It's not really an assignment, it's more like an inspiration. This is what you could be working on. And then the external mentor is someone who is not from that organization, but who has expertise in that area. So they'll come in and help you and guide you in that process. And on top of that, we also have a session specifically dedicated to communication. So as you can hear, there's going to be a series of shared sessions and mentoring sessions and all this, but in between these sessions is where you'll be working with your team. And that time is entirely flexible, so you'll plan that with your team. And you can meet in person, you can meet online, maybe you agree, okay, we do these things separately, but then we check in like this on Slack, or we call each other, or whatever it might be. So that's really flexible and up to you to sort of make that fit into your daily lives and your work and everything else that you have. And I believe it's 6 times that we'll meet in person during these 2.5 weeks, and you can see all the dates for that on the website, on the events page. So we already have the dates for that, so you can sort of check your calendars. And yeah, I've been talking for ages now, so I'll wrap it up in a minute, but I just want to quickly thank some of our partners who are making this all possible. So first, of course, a massive thank you to Ida for hosting us today, and also just for supporting the hackathon in general. Also a big thank you to Space 10, to the Dean of Education at ITU, to POSA, to the ITU Research Group's Technologies in Practice and Reflect, and to the Social Data Science program at Copenhagen University, and also a big thank you to Cursor. And yeah, I'll come back and tell you about solidarity economies later on. And also you can, oh yeah, quick Q&A now? Yes, Q&A now. So if you have questions, you can ask them now.
All the briefs are really interesting. I'd be curious to know a little bit more about how the various tracks and the various organisations came up with them, and how they decided to shape them to something that's kind of fit for a sort of 2-week hackathon.
So we, within our team, did like a brainstorming session first, or a couple of brainstorming sessions, where we thought about what are the sort of themes that might be interesting to work with, and then we narrowed it down and we matched them together, and then we sort of wrote so as you'll see, there are track ambassadors for each track, and so we kind of came up with the first initial framing, and then that's also what we use to approach potential partners and say, hey, we think you work within this. Do you think it could be interesting? And then we're working with them to sort of make it even more specific so that there's more specific questions to work with and so on. Because it's sort of this balance between making it open enough that those who really thrive in the creative space sort of have the freedom to do that, but also those who need more structure have the structure to feel safe enough that they can play within the structure. Yeah, did that answer the, yeah.
And are you assisting in terms of compiling teams that are diverse?
Yes, so that's why in the application form you'll see a lot of questions about experiences, about different ways of identifying and things like this. And so that's all for the group that's making the team, so that they can sort of cobble together people who have different backgrounds, both professionally but also personally. Yeah.
I saw on the website that there's like quite a few afternoons in those in-person meeting times.
Yeah.
How is it ensured that for people who work full-time that there's the possibility to attend most of those in-person events?
Yeah, so we're trying to have them, it's always like a balance between having them late enough that people with full-time work can finish their work and go, but also people with who have maybe small children, also that it's not so late that they can't participate because they have to go home. So yeah, we're trying to balance the times sort of within that range. And some of the times are still to be confirmed, the exact time, but yeah, it's generally in the afternoon. But yeah, also the mentoring sessions with the external mentor and a few of the other sessions we're doing online, so that it's not, you don't also have like the transport element in there.
Is it possible to work asynchronously within your team, so that maybe if people have different commitments,
Yeah,
they
for
can
sure.
work throughout when it's convenient for them?
Yeah, so that's really up to the team to decide. I think in most cases that's going to be the case, and then you maybe just agree on ways to check in with each other, and yeah, maybe that's on a text, in the morning, or it's something else, or you have a call. But yeah, it's for sure. And we're gonna, the first day, like on the kickoff session, we're gonna have time dedicated to sort of helping all the teams facilitate those agreements, so that when you walk away, you have a clear agreement within the team of how you're gonna communicate.
My name is Maya, and I'm the track ambassador for the Digital Utopias track at the hackathon. We kind of take as a fundamental question in this track, how can we make a more feminist digital utopia? Our guiding question is, how do we take control of the technologies that increasingly shape our world, imbuing them with values we wish to promote, to create digital spaces we actually want? So to speak to this a bit further, I'm going to read to you the track description. Our existence in this world is moving online. Whether you work a hybrid job, spend your free time doom scrolling various social media accounts, or FaceTime your friend across the world during your lunch break, many of our daily activities are increasingly augmented with digital tools. Unsurprisingly, these changes are not neutral across the board. The underbelly of digitization, increased surveillance, shadow banning, and cyber harassment, just to name a few, only perpetuates pre-existing disparities across marginalized groups. It's easy to feel that our participation in the digital economy, our presence on social media, and the sharing of our personal data no longer is a choice we opt into, but rather a necessary evil of being a participant in today's world. As tech conglomerates cling to their monopolies over entire industries, we risk becoming apathetic to our own role in constructing digital worlds. Yet, digital tools and the technologies behind them are not inherently evil. They are imbued with the values and biases we build into them. So the mentor for this track is Cyber Nauterne, and this was the Digital Utopias track. And you can reach out to me if you have any questions about the track.
Hi there, everybody. My name is Mia, and I'm here to present one of our tracks for the Feminist Futures Hackathon. It's called Commoning the Archive, on behalf of Jenna, who couldn't be here today. Jenna is a writer, a critical researcher, and an organizer whose work centers borders and embodied experience. Her interest in thinking about archives comes from a hopeful place that we could gain a lot from learning to document our movements and struggles. So in developing this track, Jenna's intention has been to nurture a space to reimagine archival practices for the commons. This track wonders if through the archive we might make links to understanding that we are all deeply implicated to one another. It asks if we can nurture active archives that move us to act on the knowledge of our connections, to be companions in finding solutions, in sharing skills and distributing resources. For this track, our partner is Another Life, an organization, an award-winning non-profit association that works to increase representation and improve conditions for women and minoritized individuals and groups within Danish music and culture. Through their reports, Another Life creates data and shares knowledge about representation and discrimination in the Danish music industry. The association does various projects that converts knowledge into tangible methods and tools to give those working in the industries the right skills to work with broad intersectional representation and discrimination. In this track, the participants will get the opportunity to support Another Life in developing support structures for practitioners in the cultural industries. So if you are interested in practices of collecting knowledge, critical approaches to archiving, resource building, and developing tools for minoritized people in the cultural industries, this is the track for you. Our mentor for this track is Nina Kramer, who is currently a PhD student at the Department of Arts and Cultural Studies at KU, and part of the research network, The Art of Nordic Colonialism. They focus on the context zones between art history and the colonial histories connected to the Nordic. In Nina's research, she explores Black feminist approaches to the contemporary art of Black diaspora in Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. And Nina is also a member of the Copenhagen-based anti-colonial feminist collective Marinage. Thank you. I hope that you will join this track. And if you want to, you can sign up on our website.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you. My name is Lara Reime. I'm a PhD fellow at the IT University, working on reconfigurations of bodies through technology, especially in like a fertility sense-making setting. And I'm the track ambassador of this track, Bodies of Care, together with Mia, who you just met from Cursor. And so in this track, we start from an idea that our bodies and we are increasingly entangled with data and technologies, either through voluntary practices of self-tracking, for example, but also through an increased datafication through government institutions and healthcare services. So we want to use this frame of the Feminist Futures Hackathon to rethink how we care for our bodies, the environment, and technologies. So by reimagining caring or careful technologies, we want to center care, slowness, laziness, and rest, to move away from ideas of optimization and productivity, which is often associated with technology and tech solutions. So in this track, we ask and explore questions such as how can we bring bodily temporalities back into technology, and how to care for technologies and, for example, bots. How can we make space for humans and bodies as something beyond numbers? How can we recenter rest, care, and resistance in body monitoring systems? Or what temporalities and modes of being do our bodies become geared towards through technologies, and how can we break them? And we are very happy that we have super fantastic partners and mentors for this track. And I would explore these questions together with you if you're interested in this track. So we have Softer as a partner, which is a network based here in Copenhagen. And they're building on feminist values and so-called soft values, opposed to narratives of hard technology, to create equal opportunities in learning and practicing digital art and design. So you will be closely working with them and on a brief designed by them. And additionally, you will also be mentored by Sarah Dahlmann and Nana Wutz, who are members of the Algorithms, Data and Democracy Research Group at Roskilde University, where they're working on topics of digital and data-fied health. So yes, we're very excited about exploring these themes, and we hope you are too. And Mia and I will be around later if you have any questions to Bodies of Care.
Me again. For those who came in late, my name is Henriette. My pronouns are she, her. And I'm the lab manager at Ethos Lab at the IT University. And yeah, we have a great track, Solidarity Economies. So I understand solidarity economy as sort of this umbrella term that covers different movements who all work to put people and planet over profit. So solidarity economy is a set of principles and practices that provide real alternatives to capitalism, and it's a framework that is rooted in participatory practices, cooperation, solidarity, and respect for the land and the skies and the oceans. In this track, we reflect upon how we can rethink wealth, success, and value through a collectivized lens. How do we create and sustain networks for mutual aid? What models can we learn from in reimagining our conceptual and material relationship to investments? What might the future look like if our economy was grounded in intersectional feminist values such as care, equity, and embodiment? Now, events in recent years, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, have really surfaced that the economic models and narratives that new economic models and narratives are needed in order to prioritize well-being, solidarity, and the sustainability of our natural surroundings. So one of the things that the pandemic really also made clear was that all the invisible labor that really holds our society together is not being valued, it's not being paid, because it isn't considered financially valuable. Participants in this track will receive mentoring from feminist activist and gender policy consultant Emma Holten. In recent years, Emma has especially focused her activism and outreach around feminist economy, and has used her platform to highlight these questions of care and value and who gets to determine what something or someone is worth. The partner organization for this track is Flexværker, and so they'll also be the ones who write the brief. And Flexværker is a workers-owned cooperative agency working exploratively to create engagement and to mobilize people for collective action in relation to issues like work, precarity, and democracy. At Flexværker, they dream of a world in which community, care, and pleasure trump productivity and capitalistic aims of endless growth. They dream of a life with time to spare, time to commit to hobbies and nature and loved ones, a life where everyone feels secure and valued, not because they've mastered a trade, not because they have earned some special right, but because they deserve to feel valued regardless of external metrics. So I hope you can kind of get a sense of where we're going with this track, with this combination of Emma and Flexwerker. And I can also maybe mention that the teams who will be working in this track, since redesigning the economy might seem like a daunting task, you can sort of, scope it. So you can choose to go super wide and say, okay, we'll scrap it all and start over, or we'll be more specific in a service or a technology type of scope.